Welcome to Inspiring People, the show about inspiring people, those who are inspired and those who inspire others. We all know them. They're good examples, they're supportive, they embrace life, they live inspiring lives in their day-to-day actions, and in turn, inspire others to do the same. Hi, welcome to Inspiring People. My name is Mary Otto. I'm the host of the show. And with me again today is Brenda Houts. Welcome back, Brenda.
Thank you, Mary.
This is part 3 of a series that I'm doing with Brenda, and it's a story about this mother and the loss of her 3 sons, Javis, Caleb, and Zachary. At this point in the interview, we're going to be talking about how Brenda has managed to carry on after the deaths of her sons and what truly is making her such an inspiring person. So Brenda, if you would please talk a little bit about what you've been doing now to, besides interviews like this, to share your story and also to pick up the pieces of your life and inspire other people to do so.
After the death of my first son, I just survived. And for the first few years, it was like, oh, we just have to get up in the morning. And really, getting up in the morning is the hardest thing you have to do after you lose a child. Just knowing that you have to crawl out of the bed and face the world, because you really do want to stop right where you are. And as Caleb died and we dealt with a long-term hospitalization and then his death, and then with Zach and being the end of everything for me, it was the ultimate end. It was like, what do I do tomorrow? From Javis, I had started talking about suicide over the years, and then I didn't so much talk about Caleb because it's a very personal story for me. But with Zach's death, and Zach's death involving underage drinking, I again felt the need to be out there and say something, because we have this kind of belief that, oh, we did that when we were children, so it's okay, and it's not. The number of youth that are dying in underage crashes is just not right. It's not any more right than suicide. I mean, it's just like 2 bad things. But for myself, people have encouraged me to tell my story, and any place I go, somebody wants to talk about it. They've had some part of my story touches them. I had a great pastor who really encouraged me to share my faith, my Christian faith, my belief in, and that's how I get up in the morning. And to any way of talking about it so that it would, maybe somebody would hear something and change their life. I've had lots of people in my life encourage me to talk, and of course there's also some people who say, can you get off the phone? But it's kind of evolved on its own. I went at it with, okay, I'm going to do this, but it's such a personal story, and it's an emotional story, and so it's not quite the same as giving a business speech and saying, okay, this is what you have to do. I don't have an answer. I go out and I tell my story, and I tell how I've dealt with it, and hoping that something from there will help somebody else. And that they keep their faith, and that they continue to get up and to live life.
And are there some organizations, Brenda, that you work with directly or that have helped you with your ability to speak publicly about what's happened and so on?
Yes. Well, I still chair the Compassionate Friends here in Detroit Lakes.
Okay.
And I went to Compassionate Friends right after Javis died, and there was a group of people that had started it, and they were kind of tired. They were ready to move on, and I took it over as far as just keeping a meeting going or keeping a number out there so people can call me. And sometimes people will call in and get my number, and they'll call, and we'll have, maybe we never meet in person, but we spend an hour on the phone and we discuss what's happened in our lives. Compassionate Friends has been, I went to a couple of the conferences and to their leadership meetings. My own S.J. Electo has been 100% supportive of anything I've done. I mean, they've always allowed me to do the things I do in life. You know, just my church has been great. They allow me to pretend to be a pastor some Sundays when they need to fill in. So I'm able to talk to people about my faith through that. I have applied and been accepted into a layman ministry program. So I will be, because my faith and keeping your faith strong through tragedy is really where I want to continue to grow in. And tell the story of grieving, and working with people who are grieving. I want to help. I want to lighten their load somehow. I can't take away what's happened to them, but maybe knowing somebody else shares their grief is a help.
And so do you encourage people to, let's say if somebody wants to know more about Compassionate Friends, how would they get that information, or what if they want to know more about where they can hear you speak, or
I do have a website.
Okay, and why don't you mention that?
It's www.forever3 spelled out .com.
Okay.
And the Compassionate Friends is my home number, and that's on the website also. And Compassionate Friends has its a national organization website, and you can gather whatever part of the state you live in. You can find an organization or a group in your area. And for my website, I don't list where I'm speaking at because I haven't actually pushed myself out there. But as churches and as groups call, I go to them and advertise them. I just recently had spoke at Grace Lutheran for our youth. I volunteered to help them out. I do also speak at a couple of places where I go continuously for restorative justice out of Crookston and East Grand Forks. I speak at their classes. I also sometimes speak in Detroit Lakes for the Power to Change classes and those things. But I just kind of, as it comes in, I go. If somebody calls, I'll come and tell my story and hope that it makes a difference for somebody.
And when you just find time where you just have to rejuvenate and do something that's fun and so on, what do you like to do?
Well, I told you I have a love-hate relationship with my garden. I like going down there and I like having it done, but by the time I'm done, I hate it because I'm sore and tired. I have a huge group of friends, and they're from a variety of places. My friends from work, I have family friends. I have my second grade high school friend who, anytime I call and I need space or something to do, we can do it together. My husband is fantastic. He did not know his grandfather was probably the only person he lost at 95 until he met me. And he used to tell me not to worry about Zach too much. He said, Brenda, he's got a good head on his shoulders. He'll be okay. Yeah. And then when Zach died, he was like, it changed his life drastically because all of a sudden he had a new type of worry. It really does happen. And does it happen in families where all three? No. That's very, very unknown.
Very, very unusual to have that.
But death does happen, and it happens at much younger ages than 95.
Well, Brenda, it has been my distinct honor to have you on the show. And as I said, I knew one of your boys very well, and I knew, of course, the other boys as well. And thank you so much for sharing your story, and also for inspiring others to listen to what you have to say and to learn some of the lessons that you've been teaching through your ministry and through opportunities like this where you can talk about them. So I wish you well in everything you do, Brenda Houts, and I'm certainly glad that you were able to be on the show. And again, for more information on Compassionate Friends, they can go to your website. And why don't you mention it one more time?
It is www.forever3 spelled out .com.
Okay, and I hope all of you take the opportunity to go out and look at that information. Thank you so much, Brenda.
Thank you.